Hello and welcome to this guided meditation on soul ties that is conducted by Lord Lucifer. So I am really happy to see you here today. There is a full moon happening right now. For those of you who are watching this in the future, perhaps there is a full moon happening then. And if not, this is just conducting the energy of this current full moon. So you may be experiencing some situations, some interesting synchronicities and weird happenings that normally only happen around a full moon, I'm being told. So Lucifer asked me to do this meditation today, and actually it's been on my mind since this morning to record a meditation. Um, I didn't realize that the full moon was happening at 1:28 p.m. today, apparently, around where I live. It's currently 1:14 p.m., so we're doing this almost exactly at the time of the full moon. I feel that the full moon is a time of illumination. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of meditation. It's a time to see what your manifestations have brought to light, because after the full moon passes, then we descend into a period of manifestation again, of setting intentions, of putting our directives into the universe for it to deliver to us speedily what we desire. So, with this full moon right now, I am just tapping into the energy of this collective. I feel a little anxiety. I feel a little stress. I feel stress in the pit of my stomach. So perhaps that's what part of this is being done today for. Lucifer said he wanted to talk about the topic of soul ties, and I wasn't really sure what direction this meditation would be going in, but I am really excited to see where it goes, because he has brilliant ideas when it comes to new and interesting things and revealing secret information, revealing the hidden and making it plain for us to understand. This is a meditation that I am going to be taking you into a light trance state on. For those of you who are not aware of what a light trance state is or does, this is a state where it makes it easier to access your subconscious mind, makes it easy for you to tap into your thoughts, to tap into your body in a way that is harder to do when you have a layer of societal programming over you. So, for instance, in the same way that you would condition a car to run and to drive effectively and perform, but you would not perform service on your car while it is running, that would be really dangerous. So, it is the same with this style of meditation. So, I do ask that you find a quiet, relaxing place where you can listen to this meditation, where you can be calm. I'm also seeing Anubis step in here for some of you. So you may find a grounding energy is beneficial, because it looks like he's coming in here to provide some of that structure. A full moon can lend a time of extreme chaos to our lives, because the things that are done in secret are brought to light around this time, is how I'm being told to phrase it. So if you notice people behaving strangely, things acting weird, I would say to observe and notice these and consider them symptoms of greater underlying issues or tendencies. The full moon just really amplifies who we are. If you look at the ocean and how the tide comes in and how the tide goes out and how it is pulled by the moon, it's a similar thing with people. And so we are pulled into our nature around the full moon, and we recede back into a little bit of a different state of being around the time of a new moon. Anyway, though, this purpose of the meditation is not to talk about the phases of the moon today, is to talk about the soul ties. I hear soul ties in your family and soul ties in your lineage. Okay. Oh, and I am yawning here myself. Oh. So I am feeling from this collective, there's a feeling rising up of urgency that is being dampened. As I'm pulling you into this trance state, you may find yourself resisting a bit, but I do welcome you to succumb to the gentle pressure that I'm applying for you to relax right now. This isn't to harm you. This is, again, to help you access the deeper states of your being. So do take a deep breath. And as you feel any anxiety, any tension, any overwhelming feelings come up within you, I just want you to breathe along with me for a few repetitions. We're going to do the 4-8-8-4 method. It's also called box breathing. If you've never done this before, it's where you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for the count of 8, you exhale for the count of 8, and then you wait for the count of 4 and you start it again. This is going to slow down and regulate your nervous system because I am feeling a lot of anxiety from this collective right now, and that this would be beneficial for them. You may find yourself falling asleep during this meditation. I'm being told many of you may fall asleep during this meditation because it's going to feel a little more powerful than these guided meditations normally do, simply because of the fact that is being done under the guidance of the full moon, with that energy being channeled into it. Okay, so now let's do the box method of breathing. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 4. And then we're going to hold for a count of 8. And then we're going to exhale. Then we're going to breathe in again for count of 4. And I am going to talk you through a set of these now. And that way it's easier for you to follow along the guidance of it. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now hold your breath for the count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now you're going to exhale very slowly, way slower than you think you need to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now you're going to pause for the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to just say the numbers and you follow along the box, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you're doing this now, you can return to your normal, relaxed state of breathing. You're going to feel a little tunnel vision. You're going to feel like there's a dark feeling around you with a brighter light at the center. This is your nervous system calming you down. So prepare to be calm and quiet and relaxed. There's no need for urgency. There is no need for anything other than peace in this moment. Lucifer is now going to be channeling some messages through me regarding the nature of soul ties, and this is to speak directly to your subconscious mind and understanding. We're going to be altering some of the programming that you normally operate on, and this is to benefit your higher evolution and your personal growth and development. I want you to walk with me now, child. I'm going to take you down a path of remembrance. Lucifer takes you by your hand and you begin walking down a set of stairs. He opens a door for you at the bottom. It is a large blue door with a brass knocker on it. He says, "There is no need to knock where we are going, for I guide the way." He takes you into a small room, and in this room are many boxes. And he says, "Examine these, dear viewer. Can you find the memories that you have hidden inside of these boxes? I wish to delve inside some of these memories with you. I wish to reprogram your subconscious thinking so as to allow you to understand and interpret these memories better." We take the first box, and it is full of spiders. As we open the first box, it's very sticky feeling. The spiders are black and small and mighty, and they scatter very quickly. And they lead behind shreds of shrapnel I am seeing, and cobwebs and dust. He says, "This is a box of memories that you have rarely used. There is pain in these memories, and yet mostly there is a forgottenness to this. You, dear listener, have forgotten how to use some of your memories. You have forgotten how to use some of the tools you have at your disposal. Allow me to now reach in and invigorate and reawaken these memories, these remembrances, so as to allow you greater access into your future potential." I see Lord Lucifer dragging his hand. His hand is covered with a cloth. He wears white gloves, and he is using a cloth to clean out the interior of this box. And as he's doing it, there's a very rhythmic and swaying motion to him. He has long golden hair that is streaming down his back. It's very beautiful, and large white wings. He's smiling at you over his shoulder because you seem entranced by what he is doing. He says, "Dear listener, there is nothing to be entranced about what I am doing. All I am simply doing is going through the motions of activations. And as you flow with me, you too will find yourself activated. You too will find yourself cleansed and returned to a state of normalcy as this box is." And he turns and shows you the box now, and you're very surprised because the box is empty. And he says, "Dear listener, I want you to place in some new memories to this box. This is going to be your new toolkit, and we will carry this box throughout the rest of our channeling. Are you ready?" And he places a kind hand on your shoulder, and I feel this feeling of deep sadness from you as you feel this hand, because you feel a very gentle warmth from him. And I hear you thinking, "You're nothing like I thought you would be." I hear you thinking, "I was so wrong about so many things." He wants to assure you that this is fine if you have any thoughts like this. And he places a gentle touch on your cheek and gives a kiss to your lips and says, "Dear listener, I want you to be calm and I want you to be satisfied. I want you to enter a state of bliss now where you are not in contradiction with your desires and your inner nature. Behold, I am making it very plain for you to see the things which you seek. I want you to reach into your heart now, into your heart space, and I want you to take out a collection, an assortment of trinkets and tools which we will use on our journey going forward." I see you reaching into a satchel at your side, and I see you taking out a length of rope, and I see Lucifer like tisking at this, and he shakes his finger at you a bit, and he says, "Naughty, naughty, were you trying to hang yourself with this rope, thinking I could not see it? Therefore, dear viewer, allow me to transform this rope into something that is far more useful, a tool for you." He teaches you how to tie a slip knot in this rope. He teaches you how to tie a lasso with this rope. And he says, I want you, dear listener, to use this rope now to lasso your dreams closer to you. I do not want you to tie such a knot around these threads of these fibers as you can use to hang around your throat and to deny yourself your understanding with, because then I'm feeling a big feeling of clearing in the solar plexus chakra right now. But there's still a feeling of stuckness there. It's a very, it's like, I want to burp, but I can't kind of feeling. Lucifer says, dear listener, I'm transforming this rope into something useful for you. The way you have used this rope before, it was prepared for you to hang yourself with. It was prepared to be used as a tool that could cause your own destruction. Because when we acquire knowledge and tools we do not yet fully understand, they become more dangerous to us than tools of harm ever could. Because we are appropriately educated in the nature of tools that can harm us. But, dear listener, we're not educated appropriately in the way tools that can help us can damage our soul. Allow me to explain further. He says, the farmhand, when he rides atop the cowboy's horse and attempts to lasso a dragon, he does not require appropriate tendencies before doing this. He does not acquire appropriate tendencies before doing this, and it can become dangerous because though he has chosen the correct tool, which is the cowboy's saddle and the cowboy's horse, though he has chosen the correct rope in which to acquire, yet he has chosen the wrong target, which is a dragon, and he is a farmhand. He is not trained in the ways of a cowboy. Do you see, dear listener, how there are things in your life, in your subconscious, where you have tried to wrestle with demons, you have tried to wrestle with adversaries, to advocate for adversaries, and you have lacked the appropriate tools and understanding to do so? I see him placing a very gentle hand on your shoulder again, and he is rubbing it down your back and soothing you. And he says, dear listener, this is not your fault, because you were taught what a rope could do and taught of the understanding of the rope. You have seen the rope used to hang people, and you have seen it used to capture cowboys' targets. But, dear listener, have you ever seen it used to tie a ship? And I see him showing you now how to tie a very, very special type of knot. He calls it a sailor's knot. It's very complex. And he is tying a large ship in the harbor. And he says, this is how you can keep yourself grounded in the ether so you do not sail too far away into your dreams. And he says, behold, look, he's showing he calls it a Windsor knot, I mean, this is a tie knot, he says, that people can tie ties with. He says, a Windsor knot can be used to show a degree of elegance and sophistication. Now, if you do not know the appropriate tools to use to tie the Windsor knot, such as using this rope instead of, for example, a silken tie, you can cause great harm to yourself. So he is now showing you how the rope is quite a complex tool, because what the rope is made of, as well as what the rope is used for, as well as the type of knot applied to the rope, as well as the order and sequence of ties and the amount of pressure applied. He says, dear listener, these are all tools which are used themselves in order to create the effective tool. And I now give you the wisdom and the enlightenment to understand the discernment of such tools so as to use them for your benefit and for your enrichment. I see him giving you now a tie around your throat, around your neck, around your throat chakra. He's saying it is the Windsor knot tie. It is a blue silken scarf. It is very elegant how this looks. And he says, I want you to use this to increase your capability of understanding others, as well as speaking your truth and your peace. And I see him smiling at you, and I see you glowing this greenish light. He says, come, dear listener, we still have more tools than this to explore. So he adds the rope to your toolbox now, and you step forward on the shelves. I see him actually picking up an animal skull from the shelf. He says there's going to be the name of an animal shell that pops into your mind, um, or the image of the skull or shell. He says, I want you to notice the bone which is popped into your mind, the structure of it. Um, I perceive it to be a skull, but dear listener, do you perceive something different? Do you perceive something wrong with skulls, perhaps? Do you perceive them as dangerous or not teaching true wisdom? Do you see them as a gross reminder of death? Or perhaps do you see them as an enchanting revelation of one who lived, as long lasting evidence of the fact that this thing existed? I want you, dear listener, to take this skull now. And I'm seeing him showing me a turtle shell actually as well. So you might find that it's a turtle shell for you. School, excuse me. Feeling a big clearing in the energy here, up through the solar plexus and the throat chakra. He says, I want you to take this skull or this shell, dear listener, I want you to apply it to your heart. And there's this feeling of tension and resistance. It's like this feeling of finding the skull evil. Excuse me, burping again. It's this feeling of discomfort of like, that's not what a skull is used for. That's not what a shell is used for. I don't want that near me. Don't put that near me. And Lucifer is calming you and he's telling you there is nothing evil about a skull or a shell. It is simply a remnant of what was. It cannot harm you. It cannot inflict you with disease. See, behold how it is clean. It is washed. It is shining. It is ivory. I'm seeing him show a picture of a tusk, of an elephant tusk. He says, dear listener, did you know they used to make piano keys out of the ivory tusks of elephants? Did you know many great pieces of jewelry have been sculpted from the bones and the talons and the talismans of animals? And these were thought of as beautiful and sacred and helpful, wonderful pieces of jewelry. He was showing me that you may be crying right now. And he says, I want you to know, dear listener, you are part of the circle of life. You too have a bone, have a skull, have a shape inside of you, and there is nothing wrong with it. For when you despise the outward appearance of an inner truth, it becomes ugly to you and it becomes something you run away from. I want you to peer closer, dear listener. I want you to see the nature of the skull you have chosen. Is it perhaps a cat skull, a saber-tooth skull? Is it one of a gorilla, a human or primate? Is it a rat? Is it a snake? Do you see his exoskeleton? Look, dear listener, and research into the symbolism of the skull, the shells, the bones that you see. These are revealing a truth to you that you are uncomfortable with in your waking mind, but in this light trance state, it is easier for you to accept the symbolism of what I show you as real. He is showing you crying many rivers of tears down your face and onto your chest, onto the skull, and it is blessing and anointing the skull. And the skull is very friendly towards you, and it has a lot of wisdom and gentleness. It is teaching you to embrace the fear of death. There's a fear of death coming up for many of you, a feeling of not understanding where things are going or what happens in the world, and maybe even what happens after the things in this world cease to be. And he says, I want you to know, dear listener, that as long as there are proof that things have lived before you and gone away, there is proof that you too will live after this, in the same way that you look into the past now in this skull and see yourself and your future reflected in its bones, because you too carry bones, dear listener, that will someday be reflected in the hands of someone else, just as this skull is now reflected in your hands. And Lucifer is showing you the truth of the cyclical nature of life right now, how that which comes before predates us, but not in terms of understanding, only in terms of wisdom and age and experience. He says, dear listener, now is exactly the appropriate time for you to understand this truth, how you are connected to the skull, how you are connected to the bones, and how you are connected to the bones inside of you too. He reaches gently through your chest now into your auric field here, and he penetrates your heart slightly, and he illuminates and shows you the nature of your own bones. He says, dear listener, there is nothing wrong with your bones. Your skeleton is fine and it is perfect. I want you to embrace the inner truth of your bones, the unflinching rigidity that you might find here. I want you to understand the illumination which comes from within. There are people who may tell you that you lack structure, that you lack chaos, that you lack life. And dear listener, remember that these bones inside of you live. They are red and bloody and filled with blood vessels and bone marrow and nourishing stem cells. Dear listener, your bones are alive. The bones you see on the outside of your body have passed away, and yet the ones inside of you live. How is it possible that something inside of you could continue to live and exist after you pass away and be able to be held in the hands of someone after it is gone from its mother, from its original resting place? But this too is true of you, listener, that as the bones inside of you sit warm and nourished and cradled by Mother Earth and Gaia and yourself and your higher self right now, someday these things too shall pass away, and all that will be left are your bones. But I want you to know the wisdom contained throughout your life has enriched these bones, and they teach a great many lessons. And this is why there is so much wisdom in the shells on the beach and the bones of the graveyards, and even in the shadows of our mind, which are housed by a great cranial skull, because the bones are fantastic teachers of wisdom, and they store many hidden secret knowledges. And he's taking a deep breath now, and he sends a pulsing light through his hands and illuminates once again the nature of your bones. They light up and shine very brightly, and then they turn a black color. And this is a very protective color. It is not a sign of death. He says, I also wish to transform your understanding of the color black. The color black is not evil. It is not death. Behold the raven which flies and is very much alive. She is a black bird, and yet she lives. And then he shows me an undertaker, and he is all dressed in black clothing and a black top hat and a black cape. And he says, behold the undertaker, which is dressed head to foot in black, and yet he lives. He is surrounded at death by all times, and yet lives. These two are representations of your bones, dear listener. Black is not a color of death, nor is it a color of evil, but is a color of goodness, of containing the knowledge of infinite wisdom, of containing so much more than you can possibly imagine. It contains the abyss which you could become lost in, but is also grounded like the soil, like Mother Earth cradles in her arms. He's showing you extremely rich, fertile black soil now. He's showing you how the best plants grow from the darkest and richest of soils. He says, behold the soil that is light, like clay or sand. He says this is very difficult soil to grow in, to be nourished in. He says, I want you to see in your life where the darkness of things enriches them and cradles them and is safety for them. And he's showing me the inside of a womb right now. And he says, behold, where life begins. It begins in the darkness of a space that is protected from the harshness of light. It is a space that is free of outside influence and confluence and constructs. It is a space wherein there is a nourishment that happens to the soul cradled within, deep inside. You are now in the womb stage of your life, dear listener, as I facilitate this healing and this deep understanding for you. I simply want you to relax and comply with the deep understanding and wisdom that I impart to you now, because as I impart this wisdom, I dissolve your fears of death, your fears of darkness, your fears of blackness, of the inky swamp which you fear consumes your soul. This is not a swamp sent to consume your soul. It is merely a reflection of the fertileness of your soil, of the richness of the expanses of your mind. Behold, space holds a great many wisdoms, and yet it seems so empty and black and bleak at times. But remember, all life exists along the constructs and the emptiness of the sky of space. So let yourself, dear listener, be transported and know what is the great, dark, and infinite wisdom of space. And as he sees this, you see your bones light up like the cosmos, and you see yourself a part of the infinite wisdom of creation. He says, I now honor you with the gift of space, of understanding, of time, of darkness, of shadow and restness. And he places the skull now and puts it inside of your toolbox, your little box that you are holding. And he says, note the color. And you see now it is a beautiful black studded with stars swirling in it and then solidifying to a solid point. And he is very excited for you to have this wisdom now. And he says, you can consult with this animal skull or shell anytime you desire, dear listener, and feel warmth, feel enveloped by the safety of space, the cosmos, the blackness of the sea, the darkness of the earth, the richness of the cosmos. It exists within you and it exists within me. And together it exists alongside and all around all of us. And he pats your head gently, and I see more tears coming down your face. And I see a deep sense of relief and peace spreading throughout your body. And you smile at him, and he smiles back. He says, dear listener, there is still one more tool I would like to add to our toolkit today. He takes you to the other side of the room, and there is a cup here. It is a chalice. He says, dear listener, pick up the chalice, pick up the cup. And I see you taking this cup into your hand. My solar plexus chakra, oh, it hurts. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like I want to throw up, or it feels, ugh, excuse me, nauseous. There's a feeling of great discomfort as you pick this cup up. He says, I want you to note the color, the size, and the appearance of this cup. If it is large, if it is small, if it has a shape, if it has a voice, does it speak to you, dear listener? Does it call? He's seeing you place the cup back down, and he says, no, no, dear listener, I want you to pick it up and I want you to gaze inside. Now, this cup looks very nice on the outside, but inside there are maggots in this cup, and you retch a little bit because you don't understand what this means, and you think there is something wrong with the cup. And he laughs at you and he says, these maggots are simply cleaning up the leftover dead remnants of your mind. The things that were not serving you are now gone from your understanding. Anything that held you back, that was not authentic to your soul, that was damaging to your mission, is now being realigned. He says, dear listener, do you know what maggots do? And I see you thinking that they maybe crawl in the earth like earthworms, or that they cause chaos or destruction or death or disease. Um, and he's laughing because not all of you think this, but there are some of you in this collective that do. And he says, dear listener, the maggots are healing. He says, maggots are placed by doctors in the wounds of a person's body, which cannot be safely excavated by any other means. He says, sometimes people develop something called bed rot. This is where they stay in one place too long and they get a sore in their body. And as the sore develops, the flesh rots and indeed starts to go bad on the bone. It's very dangerous, very scary, and damaging for the person. He says maggots are applied to wounds like this because the dead flesh must be excavated so that live flesh can regrow, so that healing salves can be applied to the wound and poultices that bring back life to the dead area. And so inside this cup, he is showing me how the maggots have cleared out in your system anything that was not serving you. And they look very happy and well fed. And he says, this is very good, dear listener. And I see you shaking a little bit because you're nervous and you don't really know what to expect here. You feel like a very intimate part of you is being seen, and that this Lord of secrets and knowledge and wisdom and understanding is going to come and punish you somehow, or is going to say, ahaha, I've seen your sins and I've found you wanting. And he's chuckling at this and he says, that's not how I operate, actually. And he takes your cup. I see him lick the outside of the cup. And he says, I want you to see how when you make the outside of something tasty and beautiful, but you neglect the inside, it can be damaging. It can attract evidence that you are rotting inside. He says, be careful of making your outward appearance too beautiful and too lovely while neglecting your necessary inner work, healers, while neglecting your necessary inner journaling, channelers, spiritualists, mystics. I want you to journey safely through the skies and in the subconscious of your mind, and yet you cannot do so if you neglect the chalice of your wants and needs, of your desires, of your hopes and frustrations and your inspirations. I want you now to look deeply into this chalice and see what it is you desire. And you look in now and you find it is filled with sweet water. And he tells you, the sweet water comes from the planet Neptune, which is a large planet filled with lots of water. And he says, I want you to look into the sweet water and feel the planet of illumination shedding light on your journey. He says, as you can see, the water here is clear and sweet and delicious. And this is a result of the purification work that you do when you confront your shadows, when you confront the difficult and uncomfortable parts of your journey. Because, dear listener, there's healing work to be done here. There is wonderful work that happens when you understand your nature, because you learn compassion for others when you have compassion for yourself. When you shun and reject yourself, you will necessarily shun and reject others, because that which you do not understand, and he pulls you closer to him, he says, you will always fear. And he takes the cup now and he pours it, he puts it to your lips, and he says, drink. And he pours the sweet waters of Neptune down your throat. And I see you resisting this a bit. And then he calms you and soothes you by shushing you and rubbing your back gently in small circles. I see wings on the back of you sprouting from this, dear listener. If you have some, I'm hearing latent angel abilities or angelic DNA activation. There are some of you listening who might be earth angels, who find that this experience activates you at this core level. And there might be those of you who have an angelic form that you have connected with before, or that you're desiring to connect with, that is coming through now. This is a reflection of your inner nature desiring to be seen. The goodness that exists within you is desiring to show, because you have purified within yourself your misunderstanding, your lack of direction, and your darkness. And now this shows through as light for you. I see Lucifer now placing this chalice or this cup inside of the box you're holding. And he also places a tiny pair of white angel wings inside this box as well. And he's smiling. And he says, every good angel needs a pair, even those who are fallen. And he pats you on the back, and he says you find his touch quite comforting, even if you will not admit it. And that is why he is touching you so much in this channeling. He says, it's because your soul is in need of comfort, and I am happy to provide comfort, because I am a great comforter, as one who has walked in your shoes and faced your battles and rejected my own nature only to find it later and become holy myself. He says, I teach you and walk you through the dark valley of shadows and walk you through to the other side of enlightenment, and show you that there is no need to fear a valley of shadows, because it means there is a mountain of light. Wow. And he's showing me a beautiful sunrise happening on a mountain now. And he has transported both of you out of this room with your toolbox. And now you are sitting on top of this mountain with him. It's a lovely little flat spot. And there's some cushy grass. And then there is a little clearing behind you with some stone and grass. He is smiling and rubbing your back again. He is sitting right next to you, and his wings are out and behind him. And I see your wings are out too. And for most of you, this is going to be white wings. Some of you do have a different color. I'm getting some of you may have green and yellow. Some of you may have yellow. Those are going to be the main colors. Now he is pointing out to the sun, and he is showing you how it is a setting sun. It initially looked like a rising sun, but now it is a setting sun, and he's indicating that this is how time is traveling quite quickly. Lucifer is the morning star, and he is associated with the rising sun too. He points up overhead, and the planet Venus is there, which is the planet of love, sex, sensuality, and passion. It is also the planet he represents, that he is closely associated with. You may not know this, but in Greek mythology, there's also the name of Phosphorus that is closely associated with Lucifer. That is something you can look into later if you desire. So as he's hugging you to his side, he shows you a great many soul ties coming out from you. He says, Dear listener, these are not harmful soul ties. I am revealing to you the nature of why things are the way they are and how they operate. And I want you to understand them more clearly. And I see you gripping your box more tightly. And he smiles and he says, yes, we'll be using the tools. And there's a feeling of, excuse me, sorry, like release coming up right now. I just burped again. From your solar plexus, and there's this feeling of peace happening as you stare at the sunset that looked like a sunrise. He says, dear listener, I want you to see how life is a matter of perspective. Those things which you think you can understand, you cannot. And those things which you cannot understand, you can. And he's showing you how it's all a matter of your mindset. He says, behold, in the still image, when the sun is observed, one cannot tell whether it is setting or rising. So it is the same way in your mind, in your memories. When you hold a still image in place, you cannot tell whether the person is coming or going. He says, I want you to understand this is how soul ties work and how you can form soul ties with individuals, whether it be past, present, or future. He says, because in the stillness of an isolated moment is when connections can be made. However, if the connection is fruitful or harmful or beneficial or negative, that remains to be seen depending on your perspective. So he is showing me how you have the power to isolate harmful instances in your mind and replay them with the negative connotation. And he's showing me a videotape being played backwards. And he says, as you can see, if you choose to interpret an event in the past a particular way, it becomes that way to you as truth. Because the more you associate the still image with the rewinding of this time and a negative connotation, you train yourself, dear listener, to develop that connection, to develop that tie. So he is showing me how you can have soul ties to places, to things, to belongings. And a lot of it is based on this deep internal personal narrative that happens on this subconscious level you aren't even aware of. He says, dear listener, this is why the world of symbolism is so important for you to understand. This is why I have come to teach you this today, this day of the full moon, when illumination shines brightly and our truth is revealed. I want you to understand so deeply how your inner mind navigates the subconscious so that you are not held at the mercy of your misunderstanding any longer. I see him shedding a tear here because he feels something from you that has been misunderstood in your past. He's taking a specific memory and he is replaying it over and over, and he is seeing where your understanding of this instance went wrong. And he is shaking his head and he says, no, that is not the correct view of me, nor is it the correct view of you. You are a reflection of light. I hear pallbearer, truth bringer. Says you are a reflection of the divine, and it should not be so that others perceive you in this way. And we will adjust their understanding of you. We will adjust your understanding of them. You will learn to see that the world is in fact a safe place for you to hide in, such that there's no need for you to hide. There's no need for you to hide when you feel safe. And often when we have an abundance of hiding spaces available, we do not feel the need to run for cover because we are secure. It is only when we are left in the open, in the light, when we feel shame and embarrassment and that there's nowhere to run to, we become more desperate, we become more disillusioned because we cannot find salvation and refuge for our dark thoughts. Dear listener, I now offer you a cave of wisdom and dark understanding. This cave can be used by you anytime to come and meditate in when the wisdom and illumination of the outside world feels too powerful for you, when the brightness of your daily living becomes too much. Come to my cave, dear listener. It is a cave of illumination, and we will make plain for you to see, as under the light of a full moon, all the things which have been done in darkness and said in the shadows and thought in the invisibility, in the cloak of your mind, of your subconscious. We will make them plain, and then we will set them straight. We will correct the record. I am now seeing the image of a mountain goat, a mighty mountain goat that is standing on the edge of this cliff, because the cave appeared behind us. Azazel actually walks out of the cave to stand on the cliff near us. Some of you may work with Azazel, and if not, this is a call to look into his energy. I don't want to take too much time to go into it, but he is a very strong protector and an illuminator of truth as well. He was someone who taught ancient wisdom to people. If you look into the history of what various fallen angels are associated with teaching, he taught wisdom like cosmetics. So he taught women how to make themselves beautiful. He taught quite a lot of things. Anyway, you should look into it, because he is someone who feels that withholding knowledge is equally as dangerous as giving too much knowledge too quickly. So he doesn't want me to say too much here beyond that, but he is sitting here for the duration of this now. So Lucifer smiles and takes your hand, and you take the tool box that you're carrying in your hand, and you walk back into this cave, and he lights up the cave by throwing out torches that appear from his hand, and they stick to the walls. And you see many paintings on the walls of these caves, little simple paintings, such as done as the so sorry, there's a truck outside that is reversing, and it has the alarms going off and is beeping over and over in a very distracting way. Sorry, oh, my throat. You might find it easier to speak your truth after this meditation is complete, I'm getting told. But you look, and there's a white chalk, a white substance of some sort that has been used to draw and paint on the walls of this cave. I want you to observe what you see. I see, perhaps for some of you, a bison that is running to attack a bunch of people, drawn as stick figures, holding spears. This is this concept of what nourishes us can also frighten and attack us. And there's this interesting implication of subduing the things which nourish us, subduing the things which fear us and which we fear, and feeding on the things that sought our destruction. It's this very cyclical nature that Lucifer is revealing to you now. I see Azazel smiling from the corner watching this. I see you smiling too, dear listener, as you run your hands over the walls of this cave that is a sort of dusky orange color. And in the darkness of the cave that is illuminated by these lights, you seem to see more clearly than you have in years. And you set down your toolbox, and you sit before the wall of this cave, and you see your imagination start to play out along the walls of this cave. You see images spring to life, taking form from left to right, from the east to the west, rising just like the setting sun, just like the early life, and dawning like the beginning of time, coming to the west where it sets, where things end, where things die. And then I see you looking down and back to the east again, to the left, and is where things are born again. And there is the cyclical nature here that Lucifer was teaching you at the beginning of this channeling. And he is smiling. He's very proud of you, and he rubs your back again. I see your wings, your angel wings, descending back into your flesh again as you come back into your more human nature, into your less cosmic nature and your more grounded nature. And I see, interestingly, I'm seeing Mother Teresa here for some of you as well. Anyway, Yeah, I see you smiling as you look at this cave. And Lucifer says, "Dear soul, do you see now how the illumination of your past worries has brought you peace and truth and triumph? How you see you were not so wrong after all. You were not so wronged after all. And you are empowered, dear soul, at all times to speak your truth and to understand your things. I have now given you the cup of life, the chalice of understanding. I have given you the rope, the tool with which to lasso yourself to groundedness, with which to seek what you desire and understand what it is that you can use your tools for to capture, and what it is that you cannot use these tools to capture. I want you to remember your angel wings and that they rest within you, inside of you, and are a part of you, even if you think you do not have an angelic nature. We all have an angelic nature as beings of the divine, as beings which interact with light and dark. Just as you are someone who rises in the day and sleeps in the night, you are someone who participates in all aspects of life, in the shadows and the brilliance, whether you realize it or not. And he is placing his hand over your eyes and shutting them gently. And he says, "And I want you to remember the skull I have connected you with. There's a skull that resides within you, and there's one within your arms too. Never forget that the truth that resides within you is also a truth that has echoed through the ages of time and can be witnessed and seen and experienced and loved and felt and admired by others too." He says, "There is nothing ugly about your skull and your bones and the deep, dark things which make you up. They are beautiful. They are to be embraced. They are as cherished as ivory that is sculpted to make the keys of a grand piano. They are as beautiful as the tusks of an elephant that are worn around one's neck for protection. They are as stunning and charming as a lucky rabbit's foot that is worn on a keychain of a purse for good luck and protection and swift movement. There is so much beauty in your body, dear listener, and I want you to know it, and I want you to embrace it." And as he's saying this now, he presses against your forehead, and you see his seal, his sigil appear here for a moment as he imparts his wisdom and his gentleness and his generosity to you for a moment. And you see it sink into your skin. And I'm being told that some of you should look up where the symbolism of his sigil comes from, because it actually comes from how the human eye looks out into the world and how the images that are reflected back in are reversed. It's a really beautiful connection, actually, and it's showing you how you actually see the world like reversed, and then it is flipped correctly in your mind. So he's saying that is very important. His sigil, his symbolism is incredibly important for you to understand, because it will reveal subtly, subconsciously, a lot of truth to you, and you won't be scared or be afraid of those sort of things if you have ever been before. And now he gives you a big hug and welcomes you to stand on your feet, and he stands up with you, and you walk together to the edge of the cave and to the edge of the cliff. And Azazel is standing here, and Mother Teresa is also standing here. And as Lucifer stands here and you watch the setting sun turn into the rising sun, he says, "I want you to look out at this landscape, dear listener. I want you to take the tools which I have given you and know that you can be empowered to understand the nature of things. I want you to understand your empowerment. I said I came to teach you soul ties. It is more about than just about ties with people. Through understanding these truths, you can understand the nature about your ties with the cosmos as well, and the things which exist in this space, such as your belongings and your job. You will, after this channeling, oh, excuse me, I'm burping again. Sorry, my stomach is feeling very like strange. You may find yourself having a big release of energy again. I'm feeling that from this collective. Lucifer says, when you now begin to examine the nature of your connection with other people and your ties with others, you will have a newfound sense of illumination. What at first scared you about your sense of connection with others, you may find now empowers you. He is saying the phrase, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me. So he says, if there's anyone who has disempowered you in the past or made you feel out of control, made you feel like you couldn't get them out of their life, out of your life, he says, remember that if you ever feel someone is sticking to you in a way you do not want, or trapping you in an understanding you don't want, painting you in a negative distortion you don't want, he says, if that is attached to you, it can be detached from you. And you can also grab hold of that understanding and manipulate it for your own benefit. So, for instance, if someone seeks to make you out to be a villain, they have attached a form of connection to you and have imposed a viewpoint and a value upon you, which, because they have projected this onto you, there is a connection he's showing me at points in time with that person then, and you can use that to, he's saying manipulate, not in a bad way, but to change the situation, because he says that the nature of this reflection they're seeing in you reveals the truth within themselves. In the same way, people who are excessively concerned with beauty constantly find the ugliness in others. It's because they find ugliness within themselves and they seek to eradicate it at all costs possible. And so he says the nature of people's insults, the nature of their disillusionment or displeasure with you, always reveals the nature of displeasure with themselves. He says, use this divine wisdom, beautiful one. Use this to know you are holy, you are sanctified, and you are wise, and that you do not have to allow yourself to be discolored by the illusionments of other people, because behold, I now empower you to see through the disillusion of this world. And he imparts on you his brilliant, brilliant morning star light, and you begin to see the truth, the illumination. I'm seeing 555, my timer here. You begin to see illumination about the situations around you now. And it lends a great pleasure to your living, where in areas before you felt displeasure, now you're feeling pleasure, and you just feel overcome with this beautiful sensation, overwhelming thankfulness for this kind soul, for this enlightened divine being, for sharing his light with you and helping you to see the truth of a situation in a way you hadn't perhaps allowed yourself or been able to before. I see you crying here now, and they're tears of gratitude. He helps wipe these away from your eyes, and he smiles and he says, don't worry, dear listener. I am always on the side of truth and the side of righteousness. And this may seem weird to some people because they have painted me in the distortion of their lens, of their perception of truth. He says, but I welcome all truths. I welcome diversity of opinions. I welcome diversity of experiences. He says, you do not have to be a particular way to walk with me, my child. You do not have to be a particular way to walk in my light and benefit from my illumination. I allow you to walk your path as you choose to walk it. I merely show you how I walk mine. And he hugs you like a very loving father would. And some of you might even call him a father of illumination. And he smiles. And again, I see Venus shining very brightly overhead, because it's actually a Friday as well, that I'm recording this session with the full moon. And it's just really beautiful. I believe even the full moon might be in a planet that is ruled by a zodiac sign associated. I wonder, I'll have to check it. I'll leave it in the comments. It might be one that is associated with a planet that's ruled by a planet of love, but I can't remember right now. At any rate, Lucifer is giving you this warm hug, and he says, dear listener, you can take your toolbox now and go. I give you my divine blessing of light. Go and be illuminated wherever you walk, even if it may be in darkness, knowing I, the illuminator, walk beside you as well. And so now you're back in the room, and it's without Lucifer. And you look down at your toolbox and you see all the beautiful, wonderful tools he's given you, how he has transformed a box that was rarely used and filled with spiders and cobwebs and dust and the shrapnel. And now it has wonderful, magnificent tools for you to use. And I see you smiling very gently, and you run your hands over the tools, over the cosmic color of the skull, and over the cup or the chalice that you have, and over the rope whatever material it may be made of, and over the little angel wings. I see you take the little angel wings like a keychain and you put them, like I clip them onto your clip because you say, I don't want to forget these. And you put the box on your shelf, and then you leave the room and you close the door. It's a beautiful round blue oak door with a brass handle on it. And you start walking up the stairs again. And there's a feeling of lightness to you that has come from this descent into darkness. And you just feel so relieved and so ready to face the day again and face the illumination that this full moon is bringing you. Wow, I am buzzing from this channeling. You may find yourself now slowly coming back into your body. If you've drifted off to sleep, that is totally okay. We were communicating with your subconscious. It's very normal to feel drowsy or dizzy during intense channeling sessions like this, where I place you in a light trance. And I'm now welcoming you back out of the light trance state, back into your present state of being, back into your pleasurable sense of enjoyment of living. And I want you now to embrace this sense of peace, this sense of enlightenment. And I want you to take a deep breath with me. And exhale. And know that you are so peacefully and divinely guided, and you are so wanted and cherished in this world, dear listener. And you are so illuminated on the path of your belonging and so safe in your journey, no matter how others may perceive you or how you perceive yourself. You are a good person. I want you to remember that. And more than that, people have good actions and bad actions, if you will, want to flavor them that way. No person is good or evil in and of themselves. So forgive yourself, even if there is something you have done that has made you uncomfortable, because it shined a light for you to have deeper understanding through that experience, and thus deeper compassion for your fellow man and mankind and humans through the experience. I so hope that you've enjoyed connecting with Lord Lucifer today. He has just a beautiful and welcoming and gentle energy. I hope you tap into his golden light whenever you're in need of illumination. And I hope you're really, really gentle and loving with yourself, because he teaches us how to love ourselves and honor our truth in a way that not many people or places in this world do today. Have a beautiful rest of your full moon, or whatever phase the moon is in for you today. Just have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'm sending you so much love, light, and gratitude for your shadow and being here with us today. Thank you.